You listen to 1055 The Point with me, Simon Tuck. For your work day then with Pam Williams. Good morning, Pam, from the bus shelter.
Good morning, Simon. Yes, the bus shelter MK.
We live in MK. We've seen the homeless everywhere. They've been under the underpasses. There seems to be not so many left under the underpasses. Is that because of what you're doing?
I think certainly we are a help. Since we opened in March 2018, I think we've accommodated 140, maybe getting close to 150 people who would otherwise have been sleeping on the streets. So that's quite an achievement for just a small group, small charity. I think, to be fair, the council have done quite a lot of work, and other charitable organisations are doing work. So the problem is not as bad as it was in terms of people being on the street for very long periods of time and not being able to get any help at all to get off the streets. But there is a huge hidden homeless problem as well. There's huge numbers of people sleeping on sofas, very insecure tenancies. I think collectively across Milton Keynes, both with the local authority and many charities and volunteer organisations like ourselves, there has been a real concerted effort to help people. But the underlying problems of people not earning enough money to rent safe accommodation, or even any sort of accommodation, in all honesty, that problem is growing. It's becoming increasingly difficult for people to find anywhere to live in Milton Keynes.
Surely when we're looking even at the cost of living crisis now, we'll talk about some of the positives of what you're doing, by the way, but the cost of living crisis is going up, and surely is the issue going to be exacerbated? Is it going to be? Are we going to find more people in that situation?
Yeah, undoubtedly. We are seeing as many calls as we ever have done, even from our earliest days, for people. And the solutions that are available, the doors closing on those things. We're finding it increasingly difficult to find places where people who've stayed with us for a little while and they're ready to move on and get back to having their own place. Those places just don't exist. They're unaffordable. And the places that do exist, there's many applicants. And as you can imagine, someone who's been homeless for a few months is probably not going to be at the top of a landlord's list, understandably, but quite difficult for people.
Is the problem still with homeless that if you have no fixed address, you can't claim benefits?
You can claim benefits without fixed address, although it is quite difficult to do. But there's all sorts of other things you can't do. You certainly can't. Yes, you could probably claim benefits and you'll be able to feed yourself, hopefully, but that won't enable you to move on, because the landlord can't rent you a property unless you've got a bank account. Well, they usually want a bank account, but certainly unless you've got a passport or some kind of photo ID. Those kind of things get lost when you're on the street, get lost or stolen. So all those kind of things, there are huge numbers of barriers. Once someone has got themselves in that situation where all they can do is sleep on the streets or in a car, once they're in that situation, very, very difficult to get yourself out of it. So without help from people like us to work through removing all those barriers, people just get stuck. It's quite frightening, the level of closed doors and red tape and forms to fill in, and you get sent a form on your phone. Well, if you're on the street, you're probably not able to charge your phone. You can't manage to fill in a complicated form. So life just gets more and more difficult. So the bus shelter MK, what we do, yes, we provide accommodation. That's the first step. It keeps people safe and warm. But what we also do, and the thing that is really, really important, is we support people to remove those barriers, work through the things that are needed, whether that's get them a bank account, a passport, have some counselling, whatever those things are, some sort of medical services or something. And then even once we've helped them move into somewhere, which will probably be a room in a shared house, because that's about all that's affordable, really. But even once we've done that, we maintain that support, because we kind of become that person's support network. And so that's very important, because things will go wrong, as they do with anyone, in anyone's life. Things will go wrong. You lose your job, you suddenly have a bill you weren't expecting, you're ill, and if you have no one who will help you, you're quite likely to find yourself back in a desperate situation. So that ongoing support that we offer, we think, is really key to the fact that we have almost 70% of the people that we help now will still be in a tenancy 12 months on. They don't fall back into being in desperate straits, which is quite common when all that's offered is really a sticking plaster. Things have got desperate for people, and it takes quite a bit of unraveling.
Yeah, I mean, the issues aren't just living on the streets. No. It's the issues. There are much more. I mean, there's far more mental health issues. There are far more issues that are dealt with that have built to a point where they are on. That's why they're on the streets, rather than. And if you don't deal with them, and you just say, "Well, look, here you go," actually, then we're failing them, surely, as a person.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly. We very much work on the individual person and what their individual needs are, and what are the solutions for that individual. It's not, oh, here's our program, tick, tick, tick. Oh, you don't fit that box. Sorry, we can't help you. We work out what that individual person needs and try and work with them so that they can then, after this pretty traumatic situation, they can get back to an ordinary life like the rest of us. And that's really important. Just doling out soup and warm socks is not going to help anyone long term.
No, that is the sticking plaster moment, isn't it, really? But for some people, maybe it's the first contact with you, Pam, from the bus shelter MK. It's possible that maybe there's some people that don't even know you exist.
Yes, that's true. Although to be fair, we get far more calls than we can handle, far more people than we can actually help. We obviously try and signpost to other services or other places where we think people could get help, but we do seem to be fairly well known, but yes, there's always people finding out. It's perhaps if you suddenly find yourself on the street, you've never paid much attention to homeless services and what might happen and what you have to do. And that's quite important for people to know what to do and where to go, who to contact. And what we don't do is we don't do what's technically called outreach. We don't go out on the streets and say, oh, here's a bowl of soup and come and talk to us.
Sure.
We are, people can either refer themselves to us just by phoning or emailing, and we're at bussheltermk.org. So they can either do that, or we'll get referrals from other agencies. So it might be the council will refer someone, or other charities, Winter Night Shelter, Citizens Advice Bureau, other organisations will refer to us.
How exciting now is it that you can house 21 guests?
Oh, it's amazing. And this has happened in March. We took on our first move on house, and we just decided we'd lease an HMO, a house of multiple occupation, just a small one. It was so successful. We literally this week are taking our third. We're calling them move on houses. The point is that someone has been with us at George House in Stantonbury. They're kind of ready to have a bit more independence, but they're probably either they are not ready quite to enter a tenancy with a landlord, or they wouldn't be very attractive to a landlord. They can't offer full references, or they haven't got everything they need to do that. So then we have these move on houses. That's now giving us an extra 12 beds. So our 9 beds at George House now, we can move through those more quickly. So it does increase our capacity quite considerably. It means people are staying with us longer than they would have done before. But, it's actually working really well. We can support people for longer and make sure when they do move on, it's really a really solid move for them.
Obviously needs more funding to support you, and more volunteers to support you as well.
We absolutely need more funding, because we don't get any funding at all for the support that we offer. We do receive housing benefit towards rent. So that kind of provides the accommodation, if you like, the bricks and mortar. None of the other support that we offer to people is funded in any way apart from very generous donations. So we're absolutely dependent on that. And not surprisingly, we are seeing a real drop off of donations from the community this year, and fully understand it. By this time in November, it's usually our really busy time, and we're getting lots of calls and emails, which we're very grateful for, because people, I think, suddenly think, oh gosh, what must it be like to be homeless at Christmas? That has really dropped off this year, and quite understandably, because everyone is struggling, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that's a concern. We need to, as I say, the support is so important. It's no good just providing someone somewhere to sleep and they don't get anyone to talk to, and they've got no one to help them, and they don't get any food. None of those things are can come out of housing benefit. So they're all charitable donations.
So if we're listening now and you're thinking, how best can I support in either voluntary or financially, what should we just point them to the website, thebussheltermk.org?
Yeah, that's it's a good place to start. We're pretty short of volunteer cooks at the moment. We aim to provide a hot meal for our guests every evening, and we have a team of volunteer cooks who cook at home, and they will package their meals up and bring them down to our site in Stantonbury, and then the guys heat those up as they need them when they come back from work or whatever. Our guests are really so grateful for that. They're so knocked out, really, that someone will give up their time to, provide them with a meal. On average, a volunteer cook will cook a meal once a month, and usually they're happy to donate the ingredients and do the cooking and everything, but we absolutely can help with that if people want to give their time, but they would struggle with the financial side of that, which we understand. So I think that's probably the easiest way. If anyone has any really specialist skills that they feel we might find useful, please send us an email via the website. Yeah. It's not the kind of organisation where 20 people can come next Tuesday and paint something. We usually don't have those kind of opportunities. It is really much more specialist. Can you do this and do it in this way and follow these processes?
Yes.
And obviously, fundraising is so important to us. So quite often there are some wonderful companies in Milton Keynes, and quite often they've got charitable funds or they do grants, and we don't know anything about them. So anyone out there who works for a reasonably sized company, please find out, is there anything your company will do? Can you put us forward for a grant, or put us forward as to becoming the company's charity of the year or something like that? Those things are fantastically valuable. And if someone's struggling to donate very much themselves, that may be a way that they can help.
From just saying like cooking once a month, that's once a month. That is 12 times a year. And you're giving up something that actually will help someone and help a load of people. Do you know what I mean? For one night, and show off your cooking skills as well. So Pam Williams, thank you so much for coming on 1055 The Point and having a chat. Do find out more information though about the charity at thebussheltermk.org. Come on, Pam, we're right behind you here at 105 The Point, and we're so pleased you got some more spaces. So pleased that you're speaking to some landlords who are helping support you as well. And that is exciting to hear about what's going on in MK, but we still need to play our part, and let's search ourselves and find out what that is and how we can get involved this year.
That's very kind, Simon. It's been very nice to talk to you, and appreciate your support.